Welcome to Top Fact Amazing 10, Hungry Queensland Crocodile. Queensland, Australia, might just be the worst place in the world to risk an encounter with crocodiles. A perfect example of the dangers lurking in its waterways is the recent story of 18-year-old Lee DePaul, who narrowly escaped with his life after being attacked by a hungry croc. It all started on a Sunday morning. Lee was at the Johnston River with a girl he had met the day before, a young backpacker visiting Australia. Hoping to impress her, he made the reckless decision to leap into the crocodile-infested waters. What he didn't expect was for a massive crocodile to launch out of the water and latch onto his arm. Before Lee even had a chance to react, his left arm was nearly torn in half. Days later, speaking on Channel 9's Today Show, Lee admitted he'd done it because he was really attracted to the girl and thought she'd be impressed. Spoiler alert, she wasn't. In fact, she didn't even realize he was in danger. As Lee screamed and thrashed in the water, she assumed he was joking. It wasn't until he crawled ashore with his arm nearly severed that she understood the seriousness of the situation. Fortunately, Lee made it to the hospital in time and is expected to make a full recovery. But if one thing's clear, it's this: Queensland is definitely not the place to be diving into random rivers. 9. Kenyan hyenas. Kenya is famous for many things: Mount Kilimanjaro, stunning safaris, and, tragically, deadly hyenas that sometimes prey on people while they sleep. Kenya is one of the most dangerous places for predatory hyenas, which have been known to hunt and eat humans. Just a few years ago, a pack of hyenas attacked a family, killing 2 children and injuring 6 others in a brazen midnight assault. According to the Kenya Wildlife Service, one of the survivors had to be airlifted to the nearest major hospital. The attack occurred in Nairobi, the capital, while the family was sleeping in their traditional compound, called a manyatta in the local language. The hyenas broke in, took the 2 youngest children, and bit the sleeping family members to assert dominance before fleeing. Unfortunately, this wasn't the first time such an incident had occurred. Hyenas are notorious scavengers in the region, but they also break into homes and target the smallest people, usually children. Weighing up to almost 200 pounds, a single hyena is considered even more dangerous than a pack of wolves. 8. The photoshoot leopard. One of the most dangerous places to be attacked by an animal is on their home turf, and it turns out that one of the riskiest moments to encounter a leopard is during a photoshoot. Although leopards are rare in the wild and people don't often encounter them, a recent photoshoot in Germany at a retirement home for show animals nearly turned deadly. Model Jessica Lightoff entered the leopard's enclosure, hoping to capture some beautiful shots. However, the leopard clearly didn't get the memo. As soon as Jessica was inside, the leopard attacked, leaving her with severe head injuries. She was rushed to a specialty clinic for emergency treatment. In a twist of irony, Jessica describes herself as an animal rights activist on her Instagram, stating she loves being photographed with animals, as long as it doesn't cause them undue stress. But as you can imagine, entering the leopard's enclosure caused enough stress for the big cat to respond by trying to crush her skull with its teeth. 7. The Sundarbans. India is by far the most dangerous place in the world for tiger attacks, especially in the Sundarbans, a region that stretches into Bangladesh. Between 1947 and 1983, tigers in this jungle paradise killed about 22 people per year. But before that, locals say tigers claimed as many as 50 or 60 lives annually, a deadly history stretching back to ancient times when tigers ruled the area for thousands of years. When people began settling in, the tigers didn't take kindly to the intrusion. These powerful cats would destroy wooden boats, break into villages to snatch children, and even hunt down fishermen and hunters. The Sundarbans remains a dangerous place today. Though only about 100 Bengal tigers are left, it's still home to the largest single population of tigers anywhere on Earth. Why do the tigers here attack humans when it rarely happens elsewhere? Experts believe it's due to the area's isolation. Tigers in the Sundarbans were never hunted on a large scale by humans, so they never developed a fear of them. Instead, they came to see people as both a nuisance and, at times, a meal. Would you ever risk visiting a place famous for tiger attacks? Let us know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button for more. 6. Arizona bee swarm. If you're looking for a place to be swarmed by bees and potentially stung to death, Arizona might be the spot for you. It's become one of the most dangerous places in the world for anyone allergic to bees. Recently, a man was killed, and 2 others were hospitalized after being stung hundreds of times by an aggressive swarm near Tucson. Local authorities reported that many people were attacked, and 3 victims were stung so severely they required immediate medical attention. Tragically, 1 person didn't survive. Even firefighters sent to the scene weren't safe. 3 of them were stung multiple times and had to flee. 1 firefighter was stung at least 60 times and was rushed to the hospital himself. The source of the chaos was finally discovered, a massive 100-pound hive in a nearby tree. Unfortunately, hives of this size aren't uncommon in Arizona. According to the Carl Hayden Bee Research Center in Tucson, most swarms in the area are Africanized honeybees, also known as killer bees. While usually docile, when these bees become aggressive, the results can be deadly. 5. Nunavut bears. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be attacked by a polar bear, a trip to the Canadian territory of Nunavut might give you a first-hand experience. Nunavut is the most dangerous place in the world for polar bear attacks. In 2021, 3 people were seriously injured after being ambushed by a polar bear in the remote Baffin region. According to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, all 3 victims were hospitalized, but thankfully, they were expected to make full recoveries. The attack took place in the small town of St. Irazak. 2 of the victims, both women, had to be airlifted to a hospital in Iqaluit, while the third, a man, was in such critical condition that he was flown thousands of miles to Ottawa for treatment. Unfortunately, this wasn't the first polar bear attack in the area. While experts say polar bear attacks are rare, fatal encounters are becoming more common. In 2018, for instance, a man named Aaron Gibbons was killed while protecting his children from a charging polar bear. That same year, local hunter Daryl Connick was tragically killed by a polar bear while on a hunting expedition. In short, unless you're prepared to literally fight a polar bear, Nunavut might be a place to think twice about visiting. 4. A deadly water. In Indonesia, a tragic incident recently claimed the lives of 2 villagers, all because of a few snakes. In a small rural village, 2 men were trying to drain a well that had been contaminated by rotting snake carcasses. For some unknown reason, dozens of snakes had entered the well and died, leaving a terrible stench and making the water undrinkable. The first villager, using a rope to rappel down, brought a water pump to remove the toxic water. But just minutes after turning the pump on, he started having trouble breathing, became unresponsive, and went limp. The second villager, unaware of what was happening, climbed into the well to rescue his neighbor. Sadly, he too experienced breathing problems and quickly passed out. When they were found, the water pump was still running, spewing toxic fumes. The cause of death wasn't the snake corpses or the contaminated water, it was the pump, which had released poisonous fumes that became trapped in the well, causing both men to suffocate. The moral of the story: if you ever visit Indonesia, be cautious of wells, especially ones filled with snakes. You might end up suffocating before you even realize it. 3. The Atlantic Ocean. Deborah Scalinkilly was just 24 years old when she set out on a sailing trip from Maine to Florida. Unfortunately, she sailed into the treacherous Atlantic Ocean, one of the most dangerous waters for marine predators. Disaster struck when a tropical storm flipped her sailboat, and Deborah was forced to witness a nightmare as hungry sharks began attacking her crew. According to Deborah, it was her friend Meg who unintentionally attracted the sharks. When the yacht capsized, Meg slashed her leg, and the scent of blood drew the great whites in. The surviving 5 crew members scrambled onto a piece of the dislodged boat, turning it into a makeshift raft. Over the next 5 days, 3 of her friends fell into the water and were torn apart by the sharks, while Deborah could do nothing but cling to the raft and watch in horror. After nearly a week of this brutal ordeal, Deborah and the only other survivor, a man named Brad, were rescued by a passing Russian cargo ship. While they were relieved to be alive, they were left devastated by the loss of their friends, who had been taken by the bloodthirsty predators. 2. The state of Texas. Texas holds the unfortunate title of being the most dangerous state in the U.S. when it comes to animal attacks. According to CDC data from 1990 to 2019, Texas has seen approximately 520 deaths caused by animals. That's an average of 26 fatalities per year. To put this in perspective, California, the second deadliest state, has reported only 299 animal-related deaths over the same period, nearly half the number of Texas. In stark contrast, states like Delaware, Rhode Island, and North Dakota haven't recorded a single death from an animal in over 20 years. So, which animals are responsible for the high death toll in Texas? The primary culprits are brown bears, snakes, especially rattlesnakes, copperheads, and cottonmouths, sharks, and alligators. Most of the fatal attacks are caused by territorial brown bears, with snake bites coming in a close second. While alligators rank lower on the list, don't forget the occasional cougar, as big cats have also claimed lives in the Lone Star State. 1. Vancouver coyotes. The Canadian city of Vancouver has become one of the most dangerous places in the world where you could be attacked by a pack of wild coyotes. The danger is especially high in Stanley Park, located right in the heart of the city. Recently, the Ministry of Forests had to order the culling of dozens of coyotes after a series of vicious attacks on humans. But it wasn't just a few isolated incidents, it was around 36 attacks in a single month. This raised serious alarm, especially since coyote attacks had been rare until recently. In fact, according to the U.S. Humane Society, more people are killed by golf balls each year than by coyotes. With so many attacks happening in such a short time, Vancouver's government had no choice but to intervene and start managing the coyote population. Even with the cull in progress, city officials have warned people to stay out of Stanley Park after dark. The risk of being attacked by hungry coyotes remains high, and nobody wants to be torn apart by a wild animal. What's the scariest place you can imagine being attacked by an animal? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and come back for more awesome content. See you next time.